Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that worships achievement. We're told to chase the next goal, climb the next ladder, buy the house, drive the car, grow the business, hit the million, then hit 10. And don't get me wrong, success matters. Pushing limits, setting new standards, becoming more than we were yesterday, that's what drives humanity forward. But let me ask you something. Have you ever hit a goal, achieved something incredible, and then felt empty? That's because success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You see, the world will applaud your trophies. They'll praise the highlight reel. But what the world doesn't see is the quiet at 2 a.m. when the applause fades and you're left alone with yourself. They don't see the anxiety behind the smile, the stress behind the grind, the loneliness behind the winning. Let me be real with you. There are people walking around with millions in the bank and poverty in their soul. They've climbed the mountain only to realize they brought the wrong gear, wrong mission, wrong reasons, because the climb was all about more, not about meaning. Fulfillment doesn't come from what you achieve, it comes from why you achieve it. You can win the game by the world scoreboard and still lose in your heart. You can dominate the industry but feel disconnected at the dinner table. You can be admired by millions and not love the person staring back in the mirror. That's not success. That's slow motion failure disguised as winning. True success, real success, is not just about achieving, it's about aligning your work with your purpose, aligning your drive with your values, aligning your goals with your soul. You want to feel alive? Then give yourself something bigger than money, bigger than fame, bigger than metrics on a spreadsheet. You want to feel alive? Contribute, grow, love, serve, make an impact. Help someone who could never pay you back. Wake up each day knowing you're not just making a living, you're making a difference. Because fulfillment isn't some luxury you get after success. It's the fuel that gives success meaning. So if you're out there grinding, hustling, building, I respect that. But I'm here to tell you, don't just build a career, build a life. Don't just build a brand, build a legacy. Don't just chase success, create fulfillment. Because when the applause stops, when the trophies collect dust, when the crowd moves on, all that's left is who you've become and whether that person is truly, deeply, joyfully fulfilled. That's the real win. So don't settle. Don't sell out. Don't just achieve. Align. Because success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. We live in a world that's obsessed with results. From the moment we enter school, we're taught to strive for achievements, good grades, gold stars, trophies. As we grow older, those metrics just evolve. Higher income, better job titles, more recognition, a bigger house, and nicer things. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with striving to achieve, it's wired into our DNA to grow, to stretch, to become more. The problem arises when achievement becomes the only thing we're chasing. Because without purpose behind it, that achievement becomes hollow. Picture this. Someone spends 20 years building a company from scratch. They grind, sacrifice, lose sleep, miss family dinners, put relationships on the back burner, and give everything they have to this goal. One day, they sell that company for millions. They've made it. Everyone applauds. People envy them, and yet, inside, there's a void. There's a quiet ache, a whisper that says, now what? That whisper gets louder when the buzz wears off, when the celebration ends, when there's no more hill to climb, because in chasing the goal, they lost sight of why they were chasing it. Achievement without purpose is like climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. You get to the top and realize it wasn't where you wanted to go in the first place. And the problem is the world doesn't warn you about that. The world rewards achievement, no matter the cost. But you and I both know there's a cost. And it's not just time or energy, it's soul, it's connection, it's joy. That kind of success can feel like winning the battle and losing the war. When people wake up and feel empty despite all they've accomplished, it's not because their success wasn't real, it's because that success wasn't connected to something deeper. Purpose is what gives our accomplishments meaning. It's what turns work into mission. It's what transforms effort into legacy. And without it, we're just checking boxes, chasing numbers, doing more for the sake of more. And yet, so many people get stuck in this cycle. They believe if I just hit this next level, then I'll feel good. If I just close this deal, buy that house, land that title, then I'll feel peace. But the truth is, if you're chasing something without knowing why, that finish line will always move. And no amount of money, fame, or applause can replace the feeling that something's missing inside. Now think about someone who makes far less money, works a more humble job, but wakes up every day with a sense of purpose. Maybe they're a teacher, a social worker, or a nurse. Maybe they run a small nonprofit or volunteer their weekends. They might not be making headlines, but they go to bed each night feeling like their life means something. Their actions are aligned with their heart, and that alignment is powerful. Achievement is external. Purpose is internal. One is about what you do, the other is about why you do it. And when those two things are out of sync, you can be winning in the eyes of the world and still feel like you're losing in your own. You can have every outward sign of success and still feel like an imposter in your own story. The irony is we often sacrifice purpose for achievement thinking the trade-off will be worth it. We say, I'll just push through this. I'll come back to what matters later, but later becomes never. And years go by, and suddenly you're standing on top of a mountain you no longer care about. You start questioning your path, and that question hits hard because deep down you know the truth. You were never chasing your own dream. You were chasing an idea of success someone else sold you. So many people spend their lives trying to impress people they don't even like, living up to standards they didn't set, following a path they never questioned. That's not freedom. That's not power. That's just performance. And performance without purpose is exhausting. Purpose gives us the why. It's the compass that guides us, the fire that fuels us, the reason we keep going when things get hard. It makes the journey matter, not just the destination. And when you combine purpose with achievement, that's when real success happens. That's when you build something that not only impresses others, but fulfills you. When we forget the why, we fall into patterns. We work harder but feel less satisfied. We achieve more but feel emptier. We look for fulfillment in things instead of meaning. And slowly, without realizing it, we drift away from who we are, away from what we love, away from the life we actually wanted. This is why so many high achievers find themselves stuck in cycles of burnout, anxiety, and even depression. Because success by itself isn't enough. There's a spiritual hunger in us that accomplishment can't feed. You can't fill a soul-level need with surface-level wins. The world might clap for you, the bank account might grow, but if you're not connected to something deeper, something that matters, none of it will satisfy you for long. When achievement becomes the goal instead of the byproduct, we start chasing shadows. We sacrifice time, health, relationships, thinking it will all be worth it. And when we finally get what we wanted, we wonder why we still feel empty. It's because we've been watering leaves while the roots are dying. Success on the surface can't heal the emptiness underneath. That's why you need to start from the inside out. Don't ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, what do I want to experience? What do I want to contribute? Who do I want to become in the process? Because when you get clear on your purpose, your goals shift. Your energy shifts, your life shifts. Achievement stops being about proving yourself and starts being about expressing yourself. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop living someone else's version of success and start living your own. And that's the shift that changes everything. Success is something that has been glorified and elevated to almost mythical levels in our society. From the time we're young, we're bombarded with images and messages telling us what success looks like. fame, wealth, recognition, a certain lifestyle, maybe a certain look. And it's easy to buy into that vision. It's easy to believe that if we just work hard enough, hustle long enough, achieve high enough, then we'll finally feel complete. We'll finally feel worthy. We'll finally feel happy. But here's what gets missed in that equation. Without fulfillment, none of it means anything. Fulfillment is not just a bonus or a side effect of success. It's not something you stumble into after you've checked off all the boxes. Fulfillment is the point. It's the essence. It's the reason behind the reason you ever wanted success in the first place. Because what is success, really? It's just a word. What we actually crave is what we think success will give us. The feeling of significance, the freedom, the contribution, the joy, the peace. And those are all emotional states. They don't come from external validation. They come from within. There are people who have achieved everything that the world defines as successful. They've got the mansion, the cars, the private jets, the respect, the clout. On paper, they're living the dream. But when you sit down and talk with them, really talk with them, you realize something's missing. They feel disconnected. They feel anxious. They feel like they're running on a treadmill that never stops. And when they try to slow down, they don't know who they are without the next deal, the next win, the next accomplishment. That's not freedom. That's a cage disguised as a castle. Fulfillment is the real goal, whether people realize it or not. It's the internal sense of being aligned with your values, your purpose, your truth. It's the deep grounded satisfaction of knowing that what you're doing matters. To you, to others, to the world. It's not always loud or flashy. It doesn't always look good on Instagram, but it's the thing that makes you feel alive, even when no one's watching. It's the quiet confidence you carry when you know you're on your path, living your truth, contributing in a way that's authentic to who you are. The problem is we've been conditioned to trade fulfillment for performance. We measure our worth by output, by how much we can do, how fast we can do it, how many people we can impress along the way. But if we're being honest, that game never ends. There's always someone doing more. There's always a new bar to hit. And when your sense of value is tied to external markers, you're never really in control. You're a puppet pulled by the strings of public opinion, market trends, and comparison. Fulfillment breaks that cycle. It shifts the focus from what you're doing to why you're doing it. It brings the power back to you. Because fulfillment isn't about impressing people, it's about impacting people. It's not about stacking trophies, it's about making a difference. And that difference can be big or small, it can be global or local. What matters is that it feels real to you, that it feeds your soul, not just your status. There's a difference between a life that looks good and a life that feels good. Too many people are chasing the former, hoping it'll lead to the latter, but the truth is, they're not always the same. You can curate the perfect image and still feel lost inside. You can get the promotion, build the business, buy the dream home, and still feel like something's missing. That missing piece is fulfillment. It's the soul of success. Without it, everything else is just noise. You want to know how to recognize fulfillment? It's when you're doing something that lights you up from the inside. When you lose track of time because you're so engaged, so present, so connected. When your work doesn't just make money, it makes meaning. When your life reflects your values, not someone else's expectations. When you can go to sleep at night with peace in your heart because you know you're doing what you're here to do. Fulfillment comes from growth, from progress, from contribution. It comes from evolving into the person you know you're capable of being and using your unique gifts in service of something beyond yourself. It's about expanding, not just externally, but internally, becoming more conscious, more aware, more intentional. It's about asking better questions, not how can I get more, not what do I need to prove, but what do I want to experience? You can't buy fulfillment. You can't fake it. You can't shortcut it. and no one else can give it to you. It's something you build moment by moment, decision by decision from the inside out. It's in the way you show up for others. It's in the way you show up for yourself. It's in the integrity between who you say you are and how you actually live. Fulfillment doesn't require perfection, it requires alignment. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to listen to the voice inside that knows when you're on track and when you're drifting. That voice gets louder the more you honor it, the more you follow it, and every time you choose authenticity over approval, purpose over pressure, meaning over metrics, that voice grows stronger. There will always be pressure to perform. There will always be another goal, another milestone, another reason to delay your own happiness. But fulfillment doesn't wait. It's not a destination. It's a decision. It's choosing to live in a way that feels true right now, not someday, not when it's convenient, not after you've proven yourself to the world, right now. People think the opposite of success is failure. But the real opposite of success is emptiness. It's achieving everything and still feeling like nothing. That's the tragedy. That's the part no one talks about because it's uncomfortable, because it goes against the story we've been sold. But that discomfort is the doorway to something deeper, something real. Fulfillment gives your success roots. It anchors your achievements in something meaningful. It turns wins into wisdom. It turns action into alignment. And without it, no matter how high you climb, you'll always feel like you're falling. We all have goals. We all have dreams we're chasing, outcomes we desire, visions of the future we want to create. That's human nature. The drive to achieve, to expand, to become something more is built into us. It's not a flaw, it's a gift. But the problem is not in having goals. The problem is in setting goals that are disconnected from who we truly are. It's easy to get caught up in the momentum of what the world tells us we should want. We chase goals because they're shiny, because they're popular, because they impress other people. But when your goals aren't aligned with your values, even if you hit them, the victory rings hollow. Values are the foundation of everything meaningful. They're the inner compass that tells you what matters most to you, not to your parents, not to your friends, not to society, but you. When you're living in alignment with your values, there's a sense of clarity. Decisions become easier. Priorities become sharper. Your energy flows naturally. You feel connected, alive. But when your goals are set from a place that ignores those values, your life starts to feel off. You might be achieving, but you're not fulfilled. You might be winning on the scoreboard, but losing in your spirit. This disconnect is what causes so many high achievers to feel lost at the peak of their success. They climb the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong building. They got what they wanted, but it didn't feel like they thought it would. That's because the goal wasn't theirs to begin with. It was someone else's dream, someone else's expectation, someone else's version of success. And chasing something that doesn't align with your values is like trying to run a race in shoes that don't fit. You might make it to the finish line, but you're going to be hurting the entire way. When you align your goals with your values, everything changes. Your motivation becomes intrinsic. You're not doing it to prove anything, not to earn approval or escape judgment. You're doing it because it feels right, because it feeds your soul. And when that happens, the process itself becomes part of the reward. The journey has meaning. The grind has purpose. The struggle becomes, and even if you fall short of a goal, you still win because you were living in integrity with who you are. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about being real with yourself about what you actually care about. Sometimes that means letting go of goals that used to inspire you. Sometimes it means rewriting your definition of success. Sometimes it means disappointing others to stay true to yourself. But the moment you stop living to please and start living to align, you reclaim your power. You stop outsourcing your happiness to the outcome and start finding fulfillment in the direction. This kind of alignment requires deep self-awareness. You've got to be willing to ask hard questions. What do I value most? What kind of impact do I want to make? What kind of person do I want to become? What am I willing to stand for even when it's hard? These aren't surface level questions. They're the kind that force you to peel back the layers and face the truth. And once you do, you start to see your goals through a different lens. Some will stay, some will shift, some will disappear. But what remains will be real. It's tempting to follow the crowd. It's tempting to chase what's trending, what looks good, what gets praised. But those paths rarely lead to lasting fulfillment because trends change, applause fades, but your values, that's where the gold is. That's where the fire lives. That's where you find peace that isn't dependent on performance. And when your goals are born from that place, they become more than just benchmarks. They become expressions of your highest self. There's nothing wrong with wanting to build, to grow, to win. But ask yourself, is what I'm building in line with what I believe? Is the person I'm becoming on this journey someone I respect? Is the success I'm chasing going to nourish my soul or just inflate my ego? Because if your values are about freedom, but your goals are trapping you in burnout, something is off. If your values are about love and connection, but your goals are isolating you from the people you care about, something is off. If your values are about creativity, but your goals are locking you into repetition and routine, something is off. This misalignment doesn't just create internal conflict, it creates external consequences. It affects your health, your relationships, your energy, your spirit. You can feel when your life is out of sync. You start dreading your days instead of looking forward to them. You start questioning your choices, second-guessing your decisions, and wondering why everything feels like a grind. That's not a signal that you're weak. It's a signal that you're misaligned. And the beautiful thing about alignment is that it's always available. You can choose it at any moment. You can stop, reflect, reset, and begin again. Alignment isn't a one-time event. It's a continual process of checking in with yourself, recalibrating, adjusting course. It's a dance between your evolving goals and your unchanging core. Because your values are your roots, your goals are your branches. The stronger the roots, the higher the branches can reach. But ignore the roots and everything becomes unstable. The winds of stress, pressure, and doubt will knock you down every time. So take the time to get clear on your values. Write them down, reflect on them, use them as a filter for every decision you make. When a new opportunity shows up, ask, does this align with what matters to me? When you're setting a new goal, ask, will this bring me closer to who I want to become? When you're making a hard choice, ask, what would someone with my values choose right now? These questions are powerful. They bring you back to yourself. They strip away the noise and reconnect you to your truth. When you live this way, your life gains a different kind of power. You move with purpose. You act with conviction. You no longer need to justify your path to anyone because your compass is internal. Your fulfillment is not dependent on the crowd's reaction. It's rooted in your own clarity. And that kind of clarity creates momentum that lasts. It creates resilience in the face of setbacks. It gives you the strength to keep going when things get tough, not because you're forcing it, but because you're fueled by something deeper. There's something deeply human about the desire to grow. It's wired into our biology, our psychology, our spirit. We're not meant to stay the same. We're not built for stagnation. That's why when we stop growing, we start suffering. It doesn't matter how much we've achieved, how far we've come, or how much recognition we get. If we're not evolving, if we're not expanding our capacity, our contribution, our awareness, something inside us begins to shrink. And that's where fulfillment fades. Because true lasting joy doesn't come from what we have, it comes from who we're becoming and how we're impacting the world around us. Growth isn't always comfortable. In fact, it rarely is. It asks us to stretch beyond the familiar, to challenge our own limitations, to face parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid. But it's in that discomfort that we find our power. It's in the process of shedding old patterns and embracing new possibilities that we begin to feel truly alive. That kind of growth isn't just personal, it's transformational. It affects how we show up in our relationships, our work, our leadership, and our service. It's what keeps life rich and meaningful no matter what stage we're in. Contribution, on the other hand, is the heartbeat of fulfillment. There's something in us that lights up when we give, when we help, when we offer something of value, our time, our talent, our energy, our wisdom to someone else. That doesn't mean we have to save the world or become martyrs. It means we recognize that life isn't just about getting, it's about giving. Not from obligation, but from overflow. Not because we have to, but because it's who we are. Contribution makes us feel connected. It gives our pain a purpose and our passion a platform. It takes what we've been through and turns it into something that can elevate someone else. When growth and contribution come together, that's when fulfillment hits its highest level. That's when success becomes soul deep. Because now, you're not just chasing goals, you're growing in the process. You're not just winning for yourself, you're lifting others as you rise. That kind of life doesn't depend on how much money you make or how many people know your name. It depends on how often you're evolving and how deeply you're serving. We've all seen people who have achieved incredible things on paper but still feel empty. They've hit the milestones, they've built the empire, but inside, there's a sense of, is this all there is? That feeling is a symptom of stalled growth and stifled contribution. Because you can only feel fulfilled for so long by what you get. Eventually, the soul wants more. It wants to grow beyond where it's been and give beyond what it's taken. It wants to expand, to stretch, to pour out. Some of the most fulfilled people in the world are not the richest or most famous. They're the ones who are constantly challenging themselves to become more while using what they have to help others do the same. That's what creates a sense of meaning that no paycheck or applause can replicate. And it doesn't require a stage or a spotlight. You can grow and contribute in your family, your community, your work, your conversations. You can do it in the way you listen, the way you lead, the way you show up for the people in your life. It's not about scale, it's about sincerity. The moment we stop growing, we start decaying. And the moment we stop contributing, we start disconnecting. That's when we lose that spark, that inner fire. Because we're not wired to be static. We're wired to evolve. And when we're not evolving, it's not just our potential that suffers, it's our spirit. We start feeling restless, irritable, unmotivated. We wonder why we're tired all the time, why we feel disconnected, even when everything should be good. That's the price of ignoring growth. That's a cost of neglecting contribution. But here's the truth. Growth doesn't have to be dramatic. Contribution doesn't have to be public. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen in quiet moments. Choosing to respond with patience instead of anger. Taking 5 extra minutes to help someone without expecting anything in return. Learning a new skill even when it's uncomfortable. Saying yes to a challenge you normally avoid. Speaking up when it matters. These are all acts of growth and contribution. They may seem small, but they compound, they build momentum, and over time, they reshape who you are and how you live. It's easy to think that fulfillment will come once we've achieved something big. But the reality is, fulfillment comes from the way we pursue what we want, not just the end result. It comes from choosing growth even when it's hard, choosing contribution even when it's inconvenient, choosing to live in a way that stretches us and serves others, moment by moment, decision by decision. That's where real joy lives. This mindset creates a feedback loop. The more you grow, the more you have to give. The more you give, the more you grow. It's a cycle that feeds itself. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the more resilient you become. You stop looking for quick fixes or empty rewards. You start chasing experiences that shape you. You start creating impact that lasts. And that impact doesn't just change the world, it changes you. It gives you a sense of identity that isn't rooted in what you own, but in who you are. Growth without contribution can turn into self-absorption. Contribution without growth can lead to burnout, but when you combine the two, you become a force, a source of energy, inspiration, and transformation, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. And you don't have to wait until you've arrived to live this way. You can start exactly where you are with exactly what you have. Every day is an opportunity to grow and contribute. Every moment is a chance to choose expansion over stagnation, service over self-interest. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are. It's about peeling back the layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning so you can step into the version of yourself that's been waiting underneath. And when that version of you shows up, not just to win, but to uplift, to grow, to give, your life takes on a richness that can't be faked, a depth that can't be bought, a fulfillment that doesn't fade. One of the most dangerous illusions in life is the belief that someday it will all just click into place, that one day when the money is right, the recognition is there, the circumstances are perfect, then we'll finally feel fulfilled. We'll finally feel happy. We'll finally give ourselves permission to breathe, to be present, to live fully. That belief keeps people trapped for years, chasing, striving, grinding, always looking to the horizon for that elusive moment when everything will make sense. But fulfillment doesn't live in the future. It lives in the now. It's not something we wait for. It's something we choose deliberately, consistently, courageously. This moment right here is all we ever truly have. And yet so many people spend their lives postponing their joy. They say, once I hit this goal, then I'll slow down. Once I make this much, then I'll take care of myself. Once I get to this level, then I'll enjoy life. But by the time they get there, the goalposts have moved, the bar is higher, the pressure is stronger, the pace is faster. And the present moment, once again, is sacrificed at the altar of someday. The truth is, fulfillment is not a reward that comes at the end of the road. It's a decision to bring meaning into each step of the journey. It's not about achieving everything. It's about appreciating what you're experiencing as you move forward. It's about being fully here, not always chasing there. Because if you can't find fulfillment now, you won't find it later. If you can't slow down enough to feel grateful, to feel connected, to feel alive in the process, then no achievement will ever be enough. Choosing fulfillment now means changing the way we relate to our daily lives. It means we stop treating the present as a means to an end and start seeing it as the end itself. Every conversation, every task, every challenge becomes an opportunity to engage with life fully. Not perfectly, fully, with presence, with intention, with heart. Because life isn't measured by how much we get done. It's measured by how deeply we live, how honestly we love, how consistently we show up with integrity. It's not that ambition is wrong. Ambition is beautiful when it's fueled by purpose. But when it becomes an escape from the present, when it becomes a way to numb out or avoid what we're feeling, it turns into a trap. You can spend decades achieving without ever arriving. You can keep hitting milestone after milestone and still feel like something's missing. That missing piece is almost always presence. It's the connection to the now, the willingness to stop and feel life instead of racing through it. There is power in learning to embrace the moment you're in, not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's yours. The messy, the beautiful, the painful, the ordinary, it all matters. It's all part of the experience. And when you begin to value being as much as doing, you unlock a different kind of fulfillment, one that's not dependent on outcomes, one that doesn't rise and fall with your productivity, one that stays with you because it's rooted in awareness. Most people are chasing feelings they think only the future can provide. They want to feel peace, joy, confidence, significance. But those feelings aren't created by results. They're created by focus, by meaning, by choice. You can feel joy now. You can feel peace now. You can feel proud of who you are now. But it takes a shift in mindset. It takes the willingness to say, I'm not going to postpone my life. I'm not going to wait until the world says I'm enough. I'm going to live fully right now because I am enough. This doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means pursuing them from a different energy, from a place of wholeness, not lack. From a place of joy, not desperation. Because when you bring fulfillment into the process becomes sustainable. You're no longer burning out trying to get somewhere. You're fueling yourself with meaning and presence at every step. And ironically, that's what makes your results even better. You're not just going through the motions. You lit up from within. It's a radical act to slow down in a world obsessed with speed. It's a rebellious move to choose presence over pressure. But that's where the magic lives. That's where you find your center. That's where you remember that you're not just here to achieve, you're here to experience. You're here to feel the sun on your face, to laugh until you cry, to look someone in the eyes and really see them. You're here to grow, to love, to contribute, yes, but also to be, to breathe, to be human. The irony is the more you slow down to be present, the more effective you actually become. You stop wasting energy on stress and resistance. You start making clearer decisions. You listen better. You connect more deeply. You find flow. And from that state, everything else improves. Your work, your relationships, your creativity, your health. Fulfillment isn't a distraction from success. It's the foundation of it. One of the greatest skills you can develop is the ability to be at peace with where you are, even as you reach for more. To hold both gratitude and hunger at the same time. To strive not from scarcity, but from vision. That's when life starts to feel rich, no matter your external circumstances. That's when you stop chasing and start living. Because fulfillment now isn't about what's happening to you, it's about what you're bringing to what's happening. Presence is a practice. It's not something you master once and for all. It's something you return to again and again. Every morning, every conversation, every challenge. It's the discipline of choosing depth over distraction. It's asking, what's here for me right now? How can I show up with more heart? How can I infuse this moment with purpose? These are the questions that shift your experience from survival to significance, from reaction to creation. There is no perfect moment waiting in the future where everything will magically fall into place. Life is happening right now. And every moment you spend waiting for the future to deliver something that can only be created in the present is a moment you'll never get back. You don't need to earn the right to feel fulfilled. You don't need to achieve your way into worthiness. You don't need permission to enjoy your life as it is, even as you build what's next. When you start choosing fulfillment in the now, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of delay and start being a creator of meaning. You stop outsourcing your joy to a future version of yourself and start embodying that joy in who you are today. That version of you who's at peace, who's present, who's lit up from the inside, that version is available now. Not after you prove yourself. Not after you fix everything. Not after you arrive. Right now, in this breath, in this step, in this choice, you can access fulfillment by bringing your full self to the moment in front of you.